Hello, my name is Laura Bueno, founder of All About Words. We're here today with Professor Andrew Roberts to talk about my new book, Selkirk, The Real Robinson Crusoe in Cabo San Lucas. Andrew is a British historian and writer and also a visiting professor at King's College, London, author of outstanding books such as Churchill Walking with Destiny, Napoleon the Great, and George III, the Last King of America.
Laura Bueno, many congratulations on your book on Alexander Selkirk, and what a great read it is. Tell me, what's the reason that you wanted to write a book about the age of fighting sail and pirates and so on?
It's interesting because you may think in another type of book when I say I'm a writer, but I just love pirates. I cannot avoid writing about sailors, and when I discovered that the place where I live that is surrounded by water, people coming from distant lands, I was so interested, and I think that the ocean has inspired me. I sail a lot. I go to the islands in the Sea of Cortez, and I enjoy imagining what was like in those times, how were the vessels made, and I think that is my main inspiration, the ocean.
And Cabo San Lucas is a very important part of your book, isn't it? It's in the subtitle of your book. How does Cabo San Lucas fit into this?
Cabo San Lucas is in the title because precisely during the age of sail, vessels that were coming from Europe, the main purpose was capturing galleons made or manufactured in Manila. So you know, Manila was a colony from Spain since the 1500s to the late 1900s. So those vessels were sailing to America, to the main port of Acapulco, which is in Mexico. As the currents drove the vessels to the Americas, the first port that they needed to stop was Cape San Lucas or Cabo San Lucas. Not because they wished to come to Cabo, like many people now do, but because that was a hideout, a perfect hideout for pirates to wait for the arrival of the treasure of the seas, which was carrying the most important riches from Asia.
And this book was originally slightly different, wasn't it? It started off as a biography of Woodes Rogers, the famous captain, and then turned into a biography of Selkirk, or at least a historical novel on Selkirk. Tell us about that.
I began researching about Woodes Rogers. He's a very important sailor and very experienced, but as I ran into his log and other books from different authors, Alexander Selkirk popped up from some sentences, but not once, but twice. And when I read that Alexander Selkirk was used as an inspiration for Daniel Defoe to write the Robinson Crusoe novel, then I was distracted, and obviously, I'm sorry, Woodes Rogers, but I continue to talk about him, however, in a different way. Alexander Selkirk joined my plans, and he became the main character of the book.
And there's a really important quote, isn't there, that seems to have been part of your life that you later discover as an important aspect of Alexander Selkirk's life. It's an extraordinary coincidence. Tell us about that.
I think I have the pin here. 2009, my grandfather passed away, and he left a pin that my mom gave me. It's a pin that says Dum Spero, which means in Latin, while I breathe, I hope. So I got the pin. Cabo San Lucas has a lot of golf courses, but I didn't use it, I put it away. 10 years after, I started writing these books about sailors, and then I realized Woodes Rogers, the captain who rescued Alexander Selkirk from an island in Juan Fernandez Archipelago, had the quote as part of his main quote. There is a painting from William Hogarth in the Maritime Museum in England, where he is pictured with a galleon in front and then a globe, and then the phrase Dum Spero in a marble plaque at his back. So when I realized he had the quote, I said, how strange, he's from Bristol, and that phrase is coming from Scotland, because I recall visiting Scotland and visiting the House of Golf, and everything was about Dum Spero. So I continued to read, and when I discovered that Alexander Selkirk was born in the town of Largo, in the county of Fife, where the quote comes from, I was like shocked. How come 10 years after I'm writing a book when I didn't even know that the pin is the same phrase as the privateer I'm talking about? So
it's an extraordinary coincidence. It's quite
yes,
something.
it is.
Now, Robinson Crusoe is famously the first novel in the English language, or it's considered to be the first novel. But to what extent was it a novel? To what extent was it a historical novel like your book? I mean, was Alexander Selkirk the same as Robinson Crusoe? Where are they the same and where are they different?
Alexander Selkirk, being a sailor and doing all what he encountered, traveling to America and capturing a galleon and sailing with famous, experienced navigators, is a particular and unique story of Alexander Selkirk. Both were sailors, both were abandoned in an island. Selkirk was abandoned, Robinson Crusoe was shipwrecked, but the two of them experienced the same kind of challenges. You know, they didn't have food, they didn't have shelter, and those were like similar stories. When Alexander Selkirk is rescued by Royers and captures then the Manila galleon, that's a completely different story that doesn't happen to Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe, demons were thoughts about cannibals and savages in the island and really things about civilization. And in the case of Alexander Selkirk, he was alone. He was a governor of an island where the subjects were just mainly goats. There was no one. Robinson had Friday and many more people around.
And there's a difference, isn't there, between being a pirate and being a privateer? Because you say that Alexander Selkirk was not a pirate, but what was he there for?
At the 1700s, there was the War of Succession, and England had produced these letters of marque to allow individuals or entities to sail all over the world, helping them against their enemies, which was mainly Spain and France. So it's like a permission to loot. They were helping their nation, and of course they would be offended if we called them pirates, but mostly they did the same.
Now, the big question, how much of this novel is fact and how much is fiction?
At first, everything was real facts, but as you start writing and you start seeing the story, you add some fiction, so people are interested into the novel. I would say there's two characters. They existed, but obviously I changed the names and did something in addition to what happened. But the rest of the story, mainly the stories about the sailors, the way they behaved or their customs, they're based on real facts. The log of Captain Wool's Royers, which is like about 150 pages, very small letters written in Old English, was my main source for the book. Most of the book is real facts, and the things women love is fiction.
And because there aren't many women on those ships, are there?
Yes.
I mean, did they ever, apart from as prisoners, they very rarely had any women on these ships. You invented a female character. Tell us about Makina.
Yes, Makina for me represents women in America. She was a slave from Guayaquil. She was classified as a mulatto, born to a Spaniard father and an African mother. So she really struggled, and she showed courage by what she did. I'm not going to tell the story,
No.
but I think you'll enjoy that. I hope I did my best to show what I mean about women with courage. That's what represents women in America.
Yes, that comes over very, very strongly.
Thank you.
But about 90% of your book really is based on fact, isn't it? And I'm very interested as an historian in learning about your sources. You've mentioned Captain Woodes Rogers' log. Tell us more about the historical sources you used.
Yes, William Dampier. William Dampier, it's very important to talk about this sailor because for the third time he was circling the world. So he was really an experienced sailor who did many mistakes. And he had all his charts and his maps, and all the information that he provided to Royers helped to the expedition capture of the galleon. So William Dampier is very important, as well Edward Cook, who was also a high-ranking member of the expedition. He has his own log, and in comparison to the one from Reuters, he observed different things than Woods Royer. So if you take them together, you can understand the complete expedition.
And tell us about your plans for this great book. This is your first novel in English. Tell us about what you're going to do with this book.
Well, I'll try to follow your example. My plans are first present the book in Los Cabos and then Mexico as well. And next year in the United Kingdom, London and Largo 5, of course, Selkirk was born. The book is published in English and Spanish. It will be sold in the most important libraries in Mexico on the internet.
And tell me, have you got any other plans for books of this type or other types?
I think this is part of a collection that I will continue to write. Probably I go to Drake and then to late 1700s. So I have a lot of topics to write because most of them came to Cabo San Lucas for the main reason, for the capture of the Manila galleon.
Thank you very much indeed. That was absolutely fascinating.
No, thank you, Andrew, for being here, and congratulations on your book.
Thank you.
Thank you.